But I was the only child, and my mom was single, and then she passed away.
Damn.
So like when that happened, like it was a, and my dad my dad's not a bad person, but he made some bad decisions in his life, and he wasn't there as much as he should have been.
Understood.
So because of that, when she passed away, it really made me understand. I was like, dude, like you gotta fucking work, dude, because there's like once that happened, I felt like it was like before that I was like I knew the world was cold or whatever, but like it was like, oh well, I always got my mom to go back to, but then once that happened, it was like, nah, bro, what are you going to do now? I was like, yeah, you have your wife or whatever, but like you have to like, provide for her and make sure you're, being a good asset for her in her relationship. So if I'm down and fucked up, I'm probably just bringing her down, right? So that once that happened, I was like, dude, like there is that unconditional love of, no matter what, you can go. But nah, I lost that. So once I realized that, I would say that was probably the biggest thing that changed my life, because I watched my mom and I seen how many things she could have done, but she didn't do because she was worried about other people. And she was like, well, I want to do this, but like, who's going to take care of so-and-so? And I'm like, and then like, just as the clean out the house and everything and all those things were playing, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to, great things as my mom taught me. I think that was one of her best lessons, was showing me what she did not do with her life. So I'm just like, wow, I know now that I'm not going to if I think I have a gift I'm going to try to fucking put it out there. I don't care if it offends somebody or whatever. How I look at it, if those people that you are thinking about really do love you and care for you, they want you to be happy in your reality, not their reality.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Better Than Yesterday show. My name is Eric Riley, and I'm going to be your host as always. And today we are joined by a very special guest, my boy Darren. I know him as Mooch, so if you hear me call him Mooch, I'll get into that in a little bit. He is the owner. He is the owner and founder of co-founder of Quick Sell Valley. I'll let him tell you guys about that in a little bit. But I just want to give you guys a little bit of background on where I know him from, kind of our history. So he's one of my boys from my college days. We both joined the same fraternity. I told my pledge brothers back like when I was still like getting into the fraternity that I would never fuck with this dude a day in my life. Like I swear to God, like I told them like, yo, fuck all this shit. When I get into this fraternity, like I don't like this dude, like fuck him. And I tried to stick to that for a little bit, but like you grow and you change and shit like that. And we became boys pretty soon after I got into the fraternity, and we just kind of kept the conversation going after college. So after college, I just want to say like a little bit. So I don't know if I ever told you this, and I'm not giving him the word yet. He'll get his time to introduce himself in a second. But after college, he was honestly a really big inspiration to me. I was doing it, like I was kind of starting to get on my shit, and he was putting out mad content on Instagram, shit like that. Like I always saw that, and that was something I really wanted to do with my like. I was always thinking like I was really into Gary Vee. I was really into like all these famous Instagram influencers, business people, and not even famous people. Someone like Mooch who only has a couple hundred followers, and it really made my vision seem so much more attainable because it's not like I have to have thousands of followers. It was just like, yo, my boy's doing it. Like he's not fucking dying. Like he seems good, so why can't I do that shit? So I mean, I never really told you that shit, but like that's a fact. Like that's really how I felt. So I'm gonna give Mooch a chance to talk a little bit about himself before we get into the entire show. So Mooch, tell me a little bit about where you come from, what you do, why you do it. Go ahead.
Wow, that was a loaded intro there. Yes, my name is Derek. They also call me Mooch. That was my fraternity name way back in the day. So a little bit where I was from. I'm actually from the Lehigh Valley area, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. If anybody knows, where Lehigh University is, right next to Allentown. That's kind of how Bethlehem is known, as the place right next to Allentown. So there's that, and then just a little bit about myself and like what I do. kind of just be myself, stay authentic, just chase my dreams, goals, and aspirations the best way that I think of. I fuck up, make mistakes, write it down, and try to get better. So that's kind of my way of living life, and right now currently focused on a lot of things in the real estate industry, as well as just overall investing, and then also like the self-development stuff. And it's crazy that like I was able to inspire you. I didn't know I had clout like that.
That's nice. That's the thing, is like you don't realize that you have clout like that until someone tells you that, hey man, like you actually had a big impact. So I think that's a big reason. Like you gotta acknowledge that. You gotta tell people that they're changing your life, because that keeps them going. So like again, bro.
Yo, that's crazy. That's so wild. I can't believe that I'm offering value to somebody that's lit though. I mean, I'm up with it. Of course. I never really, when it's yourself, you're like, whatever. I just do this, and then it's like other people are like, whoa. So I guess that's dope. I'm glad it's working.
I guess that's dope. No, I mean, and like I've had that. I've been on the other end of that spectrum too, where I've like a month ago, I been putting out content for a couple months now, and like someone DM'd me was like, hey, like I just got like a really good like killer job, and like I just want to say thank you so much for all your content, like it really helped me. And it's just like that's the type of shit that makes me want to keep doing my shit. Like it's not for any fucking financial motivation or anything like that. Like I could give a fuck less if I ever made money off of this like personal development shit. Yeah, it's just like to see me make an impact on someone else's reaching their full potential is dope as fuck.
Yeah, dude.
Dope as fuck. Yeah. So let's get into some life philosophy, bro. So the idea here with this podcast, we're gonna try to go from life to some general business stuff, because we're both sort of in the entrepreneur space. And then after the general business stuff, I want to pick Mooch's brain a lot about real estate. If you guys don't know, I'm trying to get into real estate in the next couple of months. I'm trying to house hack. We'll talk about that a little bit and why I'm a little apprehensive about it. But we'll get into that. So we'll start with life, and I want to start with this question, and it's kind of a weird question to start with. But I actually I made a whole podcast about this question, and I kind of scrapped it because I felt like I word vomited onto a mic, and it didn't make sense. But I'd like to hear your thoughts. So what is your attitude toward competition, and what do you think? Do you think it is a good thing in the grand scheme of things? I know where I stand on it, but I'd like to hear other.
Oh, you really want to know? Okay, so if this sounds absolutely ridiculous, I totally understand. How I feel about competition, I really honestly don't think it exists. And honestly, the reason why I feel like it doesn't exist is if I'm always looking to add value and create opportunities to a species that has no threshold for being satisfied, how in the world am I going to run out of opportunities? Because I'm servicing people that will never be satisfied with their current position, right? So I look at it here I'm in the business. I look at it as I'm in the business because I'm creating opportunities for other people. So as long as the world population is billions of people, I don't understand how I would not be able to continue just to prosper in some fashion. I feel like it's my duty to figure out how I can be a better asset to the world. I don't really think that's anybody else's job, responsibility. So I don't really think competition exists. However, if you were in a term of a sense on how I think in terms of mentality, but if I was going to just use the societal base norm definition for the market, in terms of competition, I think it's obviously good. I mean, if you don't feel like your competitors are burning your ass, then I don't really think you should be doing whatever you're doing, because that means that you're selling yourself short, right? So yeah, I think that if you do feel competition, I don't think you should shy away from it. I feel like that's the higher power, God, whoever you pray to or whatever you believe in. I feel like that's pretty much that telling you, hey, maybe you are not giving your full potential. Maybe that's why you feel like this person or these people are burning your ass right now. So that's kind of like my philosophy or my attitude towards competition.
I feel that. I would say, like, I really like what you said about, basically what I gathered from the first half of your answer, like, essentially, you're not competing against everyone else. Like, there's a huge abundance of opportunity and shit to do in the world. Like, it's not like this person's successful, so you can't be. Like, that's just a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
And, like, people love to think like that.
That's idiotic.
Yeah, it's idiotic. And another thing that you were saying is, like someone, if you're not worried about someone burning your ass, like, you're kind of fucking up in a sense. Like, and I agree with that, right? It's like, if there's no motivator to be better, for example, like in a market setting or something, like if you're a company and you have no competition, like you're a monopoly, like why would you even need to be better? Like, you already have everyone. So that's why I think that in the grand scheme of like a market, something like that, it's such a good thing because it makes you have to worry about like customer experience and being better and just being the best you can be. You know what I mean? So that brings me to another thing, in terms of being better. Like, the name of this podcast, obviously, is Better Than Yesterday. And the whole idea of, like, better is, like, subjective almost. In a sense where, like, you're better, your version of success, what you think is great, like, whatever you're striving towards could be completely different than what I'm striving towards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what would you say, like, what are you striving towards, in the grand scheme of things? I don't know if you have a 5-10 year idea, but, like, what is your version of success? What if you achieved tomorrow, would you be like, fuck yeah, like, I did it?
So my form of success, I would have to say is, I mean, I think I'm on camera, so
you are.
So, like, if you haven't noticed, I'm brown. Right. So, for me, one of my main goals is to really be able to be a resource, because I've noticed that a lot of people are categorical thinkers and they have, let's say, trouble, so to speak, to, let's say, somebody like yourself, you're doing great things. Somebody looks like me might see you and might be like, that person doesn't look like me. I don't, they're probably going to create those, stigmas. Oh, well, he's a Caucasian, all those good things. But, like, I feel like, okay, if they see me do it, it's like, okay, I feel like I can talk to that person because he looks like me. We resemble each other. So let me ask him some type of question, or let me get some guidance from him. And I feel like my ultimate goal is to be able to create enough to where I'm like, if I'm cool to those people where they want to be like, hey, what did you do to get there? And it's not like, hey, I did not dribble a basketball and I did not, rap my way to money. And it seems like, just the way, the media is framed and stuff, it seems like that's where people that look like me, that's where they feel like that's where they have to get in.
That's
like, so I'm just like, for me, I'm like, if I can build and I purposely, like, I could have actually built my business by investing a lot of money, but we actually started off by purposely not investing money, so that way we could prove to ourselves, hey, when we go to the hood or we go to the trailer park or something and we say, hey, we can help you change your life, they don't need to have 50, 60 stacks. They don't need all those bands. I'd be like, listen,
we did it. We did
it. So that's really, my version of success. I could take, a bunch of money and throw it at my problems, but it's like, how would I be able to then help the person in the hood who has $4 in their pocket? I don't think I can be a good resource, because I'm gonna say, well, you got 20 grand? Oh no, well then I can't help you.
Should have a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So to me, that's what, ultimately success is, being able to build something from the ground up, and, just having that confidence, understanding that, you can start and not have the skills, and just by doing, you will, learn the skills, or, you'll come across somebody who would love to fucking do that shit for you.
Right. That's fire, dude. Couple things I heard I want to sum up. Like, essentially, it sounds like a huge indicator of your success is being able to lead by example, being able to create something and have someone see it, have someone see your work, that you put in the work, got to where you're at, and that looks attainable to them. I just want to say, you did that for me. And I'm not brown. I'm not white shit. But, like, like, it's just that type of thing, right? It's like you did something and you were, you didn't think anything of it. Like, you were just fucking putting out shit and throwing it out there, and whoever wants to see it can. But, like, I saw it and I resonated with that shit, and I went and did shit because that was a huge motivator. So, like, again,
I appreciate you sharing that. That's crazy.
Like, and another thing that I call for you that you were talking about your version of success is, like, you're essentially saying, like, you started your business purposefully not putting a lot of money into the business, and you want to prove to yourself, you and your business partners want to prove to yourself that, like, yo, we can do it with no money. And that's powerful to me because it almost says, like, yo, if I went back to zero tomorrow, like, I'm cool. Like, I got the skills. I know how to go from zero to something. I did it already. So I think that's awesome too. Like, that's a great version, like a great way to think about success is, like, it's not driven by money. Like, it doesn't fucking, money's cool.
Yeah.
And you need it. But, like, you can also start with nothing and gain, get rolling. So
yeah, it's real.
That's
real.
And so next thing I want to go over. So you put me on to a book called Start With Why. You remember?
Oh yeah, Start With Why is fire.
It's so fire.
Simon Sinek be dropping hella books.
Yeah, dude. I listen to his podcast. It's so fire, bro. So one of the main takeaways I had from that book, I'm sure you had something similar, is, like, emotional investment is a good thing, and I never really, like, understood that until I read that book. So I guess I want to ask you, like, is there strength in emotional investment, and do you think there's, like, a line to be drawn in when an emotional investment is a bad thing or going to, like, I guess, is there times when emotional investment is a strength, and is there times when it's a weakness? What do you think?
Yeah, wow, that's actually a great question. Is emotional investment a good thing? I would say it 100% is a good thing, but however, there is definitely a threshold, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, we are, we'd like to think we're logical beings, but we're not. We're not. So because we're emotional beings, we try to, use our logical side. So I would say, yes, emotional investment is very important. However, I feel like you should not get drunk on your emotions to the point where you're doing things out of, just pure, like, oh, I'm so stuck to this. I'm so invested in this. And sometimes, fuck your feelings, right? Like you want it to work a certain way, but, like, sometimes it's not gonna happen that way. So I would say you need to have that that emotional investment. However, I think that with your emotional investment, you should make sure that you're still depositing things into your logical make at the same time.
Understood.
And then go from there. That's kind of what I would say. How I look at emotional investment. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of what I would kind of put it as.
I would say it has to, like, emotional investment is absolutely a good thing. Like, if you don't want to do something, like, if you didn't want to start, like, if you didn't like your business, like, at least sometimes, you wouldn't do the best work that you want to do, right?
Of course.
And I think there's like a sense of, emotional intelligence that needs to be there too. Like, you need to know when your emotions are working in your favor, and when they're working out of your favor. And, like, for, like, when it comes to, like, discipline, like, doing the shit that you need to do, like, that's basically when you have to use the logical side of your brain and tell your emotions, like, all right, chill, like, I'm scared, or I don't feel like going out and working out today, but, like, I know it's good for me. Like, there's no amount of emotion that's gonna tell me that working out is a bad idea. Like, not working out for a month is a good idea. Like, that's not correct. Like, you know what I mean? So I guess I agree with you in the sense that emotional investment is super fucking important, and it's, like, necessary. Like,
100%.
You're not gonna get where you're trying to go if you don't have emotion. But at the end of the day, if you get drunk on your emotions, like you said, you're almost fucked. Because then you're not even questioning what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not even using the logical side. You're just doing shit because it feels good. And that's a big problem that a lot of people, I think, have sometimes.
Oh yeah. That dopamine will Oh, that shit'll fuck you up.
Right. You just get in a rut, and then before you know it, you've been doing, you're drinking every day for a year, and it's like, oh shit, fuck. Like,
yeah, what happened? Where'd the time go?
Right, exactly. The college all over again. All right. Another question I got. So, like, what are some habits that you've implemented in your daily life, either business, personal, whatever you got for me? I mean, what are some shit? What are some shits? What are some Johns that have helped you and moved you forward in your life? I would say for me, it would be like, I love to read. I'm super fortunate to love to read. I don't think a lot of people have that emotional investment in reading, even though it's a good thing to do regardless.
Yeah.
And like running, things like that. Like, I love to do those things, and I'm just lucky that I made them habits. So what are some things that you try to do?
Well, before I want to say something, before I get into that's fire that you like to read.
Yeah.
I do like to read. I've noticed though that I don't like to read very long books. Like I used to do a lot of audiobooks. That's my personal opinion. I still read like a lot of business articles or whatever, but something about my level of impatience, something about picking up the book and just being like, just fucking get to the end.
Yeah.
So for me, like, yeah, so like for me, like if I read a book, it's either like I'm either super into it, then I'm like, damn, like I want to get to the end, or I'm just like, fuck this, get to the end, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck did I just?
Right.
I just looked at black marks on a piece of paper for like 2 hours or whatever. So that's definitely dope. But I would say habits that have helped me grow as an individual definitely is making big commitments without having no fucking clue on how you were going to get them done. And I say they have to be commitments because if they're commitments, then you're like, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. Then once you tell your brain, listen, we're going to do this, everything else after that is going to fall into place. Now, you're not going to know what you need to do. Honestly, I didn't know how the fuck I was going to get here, to be honest. I was like, wow, you said that? And I was like, yes. And then I was like, dude, why the fuck did you say yes to that? Like, do you realize how much shit you have to do? And I was like, yeah, I know, but I'm going to figure it out. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And then, yeah. I was like,
it's like, tell yourself you're going to do something and the how will present itself.
Yeah. Definitely. That's definitely, I would say, my biggest habit to help me in growing. I would say another one, this might sound really wonky, is focusing on my primary goal and letting my instincts take care of everything else. So I wake up and I'm like, listen, I am blessed to have food in my refrigerator and whatnot and do all those things. So I don't wake up, I don't focus on that. I focus on what I have to get done. And I'm sitting here like, listen, my body will get thirsty and my body's going to take me to wherever the water is into my house to drink it. So I'm not worried about, what am I going to eat? What am I going to drink? Because I'm blessed enough to not have to worry about that. So then I'm not worried about who's doing what in Brazil or the vid or bad. I'm not worried about any of that because, like, honestly, there's billions of people. I got one brain. That shit is way too big for me. I can't be fucking with that. So I just focus on whatever I'm focused on, and then everything else that is important, like I said, will just take care of itself. If I look at it, if it's a priority, and my subconscious is going, if it's a priority in my subconscious, and I keep it on my conscious brain enough, it's going to get done.
Yes. So I liked one thing that you said about that. You didn't necessarily fit with habit, but I think it really is. And this is something that I definitely like. One of the biggest things that helped me transform like my life, honestly, and I would say it's a habit or a state of mind, like a mindset almost, is just like focusing on what you can control. Like, so many people want to know all about, like, holy shit, like, what's going on over here? What's going on over there? Like, and it's like, bro, that shit, like, you just spent 2 hours reading news articles. Where did you, like, how is that good? How can you, like, think that's good for you?
Yeah, mental masturbation will leave your brain fucked, man. Like, it really will. I've done it before. I've just been reading article after article. Like last year, oh my god, I probably read enough to go around your house. But like, it was just like I don't know what the fuck I was reading. It was just the real estate market is this, the vid is this, doom and gloom over here. All this people are getting rich, and I was like, dude, what the fuck am I actually doing?
Yeah.
I was like, nothing got done. I was like, dude, you read 2 trillion words, but like, what knowledge did you actually gain? It's like, dude, I don't know. First off, the first, third, and fifth articles contradicted the second, fourth, and sixth. So I don't even know what I'm like, you know, fuck it. Let me just go back to what I was talking about. And yeah, if drones come and drop bombs or whatever, what the fuck am I gonna
do? If you know that or if you don't know that, it doesn't matter. Like, you're dead. Like, you're dead regardless. So I love that. Like, it's just that mindset shift for me had a huge impact. Like, I remember I used to just think about, like, oh my god, like what are these people gonna think, or what are they gonna think? And it's like I can't control that. And like, once you shift your values to shit that you can control, and not like, holy shit, like, I value money, or I value people, like people's thoughts. Like, once you don't worry about that shit and you're worried about, like, am I doing hard work? Am I being a good person? Like, am I treating people well?
Yeah.
It all changes, bro. Your whole life, like, mentality, perspective, I feel like.
It does. And then I would say my last, I guess, I don't even know if it's really, I guess it's a habit. Because I actually know a lot of people who do this, and it fucking kills me. Like, I don't know how many people I see, they will be 50 for 50 and fucking take themselves out the game. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
Dude, but I've been balling. I'm like, yo, keep fucking going. I'm like, dude, stop, keep going until you hit the wall. I don't know why you're on fire and you're gonna take yourself out.
Right.
It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, it's like you get complacent with enough success. I was literally just like, I was on a run today at like 11:30, 11:45, and I was listening to Andy Purcell podcast. I talk about his podcast like all the time on my show. Like, I fucking love Andy Purcell's podcast.
Word.
And I think everyone should listen to it. Like, if you're in the game of winning, if you are interested in being a better person and winning, listen to that shit, because it drops some straight fire all the time.
Word, I gotta put that on my list. I don't think I've ever.
Oh, he's fire, dude. But what I was saying is, like, there's a guy on there, and they were talking all about getting complacent after you win. And he was like, yeah, like, they have a mentorship program called RTA Syndicate, where they have a bunch of entrepreneurs that sign up, you know, get mentorship, etc. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, like, I see kids all the time, like, they're like 2-3 years in business, like, crushing it. And then, you know, a year later, they're just like in the same spot, or like a little bit further down, because they just like chilled, and they're like, oh, well, you know, I'm doing all right. We got steady revenue, blah. But it's like, the second you stop trying to be better, the second you stop trying to grow, your fucking competitors, whoever is trying to eat your lunch, will get their hands on that shit.
Yeah, they will.
Like,
yeah, they will.
And that's a fact. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah. So, give me some recommendations. What books, podcasts, any material that you recommend to someone that wants to be better in the space of like personal development? We can get into business in a bit, but you know, more specifically, you know, podcasts, audiobooks, whatever you listen to.
So if I was gonna say books, podcasts, audiobooks, whatever, in terms of shit to really help you know, start or get to that next level, I would definitely I don't know how popular this might be a played out one, but the Solo Art Not Giving a Fuck was it's too much heat. And I just think it was because of, you know, like, I was like, wow, you know, I feel you, bro. Like, yeah, like, if I go out here and fuck up, like, no one's gonna fucking remember.
Right.
Because somebody right now missed a goal in soccer, and I don't give any fucks about it. Right. So yeah, you know what? I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I might as well just do that. So I would definitely say, the Solo Art Not Giving a Fuck is definitely one of the books that really put me on. 10X Massive Action by Grant Cardone. Honestly, that was probably, I feel like I can put so many books underneath just that title alone. Then there's obviously, I think you always have like the what do you call, like, those staple books, like Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know, you always have that one. Think and Grow Rich. That's always a good one. Compound Effect.
I want to talk about Think and Grow Rich real quick. I love how, like, so much of that book is just around, like, just have a plan and just execute on it. Like,
yeah.
It's so fire that he makes it sound so simple. He's like, just do these actions. Yeah. Put things on paper and do them, and you will be better off. And it's a fact.
Yeah.
Like, it's a straight fact, bro.
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous. So I would say that, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Okay.
That's another good one because I would just say I thought that one actually was 10x and Compound Effect were probably my two biggest in terms of audiobooks because 10x Massive Action. I don't care what nobody says. If you go out with the intent to just try and get better, it is impossible for you to not get better. Like there is no way. Like if you swing your hardest at a punching bag, like there is no way that like if you do that for 2 years, that like 2 years from now that your haymaker is not going to be stronger. Like I'm like nah, like that's not possible. So just having that continuous action, from the Compound Effect, I was like dope. And then the 10x Massive Action was just like just if I just go as if like I'm the fucking goat of everything, I will eventually get there. And if I don't, I'm going to try so hard that my failure is going to obliterate so many other people's successes out of the water. So I would say those are probably books. I would say now, besides those, actually, I got some more books in here. Fuck it. Let's just see. Limitless. That one's fire. Leaders Eat Last.
I heard of that one.
That one's fucking crazy. I was actually listening to part of that on my way here. And then in terms of podcasts, it's kind of I don't want to like sound like I'm giving neck or whatever. I think your podcast is actually really fire. No, I'm that serious because it's like, like I know that you just started it or whatever, but like it's dope because I'm like, wow, like you're really out there and you're really saying shit. Like it seems like I know who you are. I'm like, nah, like he's not lying here, right? So like I definitely would say your podcast is up there. Bradley, Dropping Bombs is up there. Trying to think other podcasts that I really fucked with, that aren't really most of the podcasts I listen to are mostly investor related.
Rich, did you ever listen to Rich Dad Radio?
I did not. I'll probably have to get on that one too, dude. I'm hoping to learn mad shit from you. To be honest, another one. It's a lot of real estate, but they also do a lot of self development. It's called Wholesaling Inc.
Okay.
They do a lot of self development. They talk a lot about business, but they also talk a lot about spiritual enlightenment and being a good person. That's one too. And then on Bigger Pockets is always a good podcast. They have some good self development and non-investor content. Ed Milet's podcast is fucking crazy. That's probably one of my favorite podcasts as well. So that's probably where I get my podcasts and my audiobooks. Those are probably some of the ones that really, really changed how I like viewed things.
I got you. All right, so wait, that's a perfect segue.
Word.
What are some major things that have happened to you? So, from like major life events, either good or bad, that have had like a huge impact on you, and you could obviously either realize at the time that it's going to have a huge impact on you, or it could be something that at the time might have seemed so small. Like for me, when I picked up 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, like I had no idea that was going to be the catalyst for like me not, me losing 60 pounds and starting to read all these books and just like get after it so much more. So I'm curious, like, do you have anything that you acknowledge that has helped you have a huge, shift in perspective or mindset, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Oh man, I was a fucking idiot when I was 23. I did some real dumb shit.
I can confirm.
I graduated and I didn't really want to be in school no more, but my mom really wanted me to graduate. And shit like that. So I was like, I'm already here. I like the fraternity, whatever. So I was like, listen, fucking just graduate. You're a junior. If you quit now, you're gonna have just as much debt as the people who graduate with no credentials. That's dumb as fuck. So you might as well just finish. So I finished, and then I realized I fucking hated it. I had a regular job, and I was like, dude, this cannot. I went to work at a call center. It wasn't like a terrible job. I was like, dude, there is no way. I was like, there has to be something better in my life than this shit. So,
quitting your job?
I quit my job, but see, my girlfriend, now wife, she lived 2 hours away from me, and she worked in the medical field, and she already had a job. So she signed one of those contracts or whatever where you had to like stay at the same spot for like 5 years, or if you leave, you got to lose your signing bonus or whatever. So her job was better and made more money. So I was like, well, fuck it. I don't really have anything here. My homies are here, or whatever, but I'm really trying to experience something new. And being there, I just felt like I was just going to be one of the homies on the block chilling because that's what my friends were doing at that time. So I felt like that's where I was going to be. So I just uprooted and left. Now, that wasn't the reason why I was fucking dumb.
Where did you leave and where did you go?
From the Valley, so Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, to York, Pennsylvania. So now I live in the sticks, pretty much. But the reason why that was such a stupid move, I quit my job. I had very little savings. And I went to a job that was commission based. So that was dumb as fuck. So like I had no money, but I was like, dude, I have to do this. And it was, I was like, I'm gonna go out here and just, see how it's like. So I quit the job. And the way the situation was set up, long story short, the way my in-laws' house was set up, they had like a side house, I guess, so to speak. It was like an extension to the property. And there was a bedroom, bathroom, living room, all that. The only thing we had to share was the kitchen. So I was thinking, like, dude, you cannot quit this job because you live with your girl's parents. If you quit this job, dude, you're a fucking idiot. Now, the job was a management training program, so the whole point of it was to work 6 days a week, because the whole point was if everyone works 5 days, you work 6, you should smoke everybody and get faster, get to where you're trying to get to faster. So I worked 6 days a week already, and I probably worked 12 hours a day because of just how it was a management training program, and it showed you how to learn how to run your own business. The hours were so long because it was like, well, if you want to be a business owner, we're grooming you to fucking work all day.
That's what you gotta do.
So that was the job. So I took that job, and because I took it, it was fucking hard to try to find another job because not only was I working a long time, I was a fucking idiot. I didn't really, like I said, I make commitments and don't really think about the details. This job I committed to was like fucking 55 minutes from my house, one way. Okay. So it was 2 hours a day just to get to and from work. Then I was there for 10 to 12 hours a day. So yeah, honestly, I was like, I did like the job though. I liked the skills I was learning. Right. They gave me dope shit. So I quit that job, and I quit my job, went to this new job. I was fucking doing door-to-door sales, bro. Yeah. And I was so glad I did that shit. Like rain, sleet, snow, it didn't fucking matter. I was slinging fucking door-to-door products. It was mainly Verizon, Files, and Inspire Energy, which is like a clean tech company. I don't know if it's illegal to mention them on the podcast or not. I have no idea. But yeah, sorry, I was working for them door to door, and yeah, I think that was one of my biggest moments because the grind had to be so ridiculous. Because the setup of the job, first off, if you weren't the team leader for the day, you got dropped off. So like somebody would drop you off in somebody's neighborhood, and they say, "Okay, I'll meet you back here in 6 hours." So yeah, you were just going. So at that point, I was like, "Well, dude, I can either stand here and bitch or knock on these fucking doors." Facts, right? So yeah, that was and like I said, because of the being outside, it was so much unfortunate shit. Had to just prepare. It just taught me to prepare for so much shit. I was like, dude, well, I mean, it's sunny out, but it might rain. You never know. Right. And, you're walking out there with your tablets and you have the channel guides and shit and their paper. So if it rains and shit, your presentation fucked because now you're handing someone a soggy channel guide. Your sales pitch looked real shitty now. So you just came up with so many ways to just like, I don't know how many times I went to the field with no food, no water, just getting dropped off and coming back. I'm like, yeah, you guys want this apple pie? How the fuck did I get this? I don't fucking know. But I'm out here. You just learned so many of those things from that job. So I would definitely say that working door to door job, that was definitely one of the hugest impacts in my life. Besides that, selling insurance, that was the stupidest decision of my entire life. Not saying if you like selling insurance that you're a bad person, But I didn't really like it. I liked the money, and and that's when I didn't have good spiritual. That's what let me know I wasn't a good person spiritually. I was selling insurance to make money, and I was like, dude, you realize you're selling life insurance policies to people who are trying to like protect their families from like hardships or at least mitigate that hardship, and you're over here worrying about some money. Like, are you sure, bro, that you should be like doing these jobs? I'm like, dude, like you can't be hard closing these people because you just want a premium. Like, do they actually need that coverage, or do you just want to put food on your table? I don't know if you're doing it correctly. And so I would say that was another point in my
I know someone who sells insurance like that.
Yeah.
Do you?
What?
Do you? I don't know if you know who I'm talking about.
Sells insurance like that.
We'll talk about it later.
All right, cool. All right. No, so there was that, and then I think now I'm over it. So like I'm not like not over, like it still fucking sucks, but it's been a while now, and I've learned to cope with it, and I've looked at it on the spreadsheet. I was like, well, I guess this statistically was gonna probably happen sometime in the future. But I was the only child, and my mom was single, and then she passed away. Damn. So like when that happened, like it was a, and my dad, my dad's not a bad person, but he made some bad decisions in his life, and he wasn't there as much as he should have been. Honestly. So because of that, when she passed away, it really made me understand. I was like, dude, like you gotta fucking work, dude, because there's like once that happened, I felt like it was like before that, I was like, I knew the world was cold or whatever, but like it was like, oh well, I always got my mom to go back to, but then once that happened, it was like, nah, bro, what are you going to do now? I was like, yeah, you have your wife or whatever, but like you have to like, provide for her and make sure you're, being a good asset for her in her relationship. So if I'm down and fucked up, I'm probably just bringing her down, right? So that once that happened, I was like, dude, like there is that unconditional love of, no matter what, you can go. But nah, I lost that. So once I realized that, I would say that was probably the biggest thing that changed my life, because I watched my mom and I seen how many things she could have done, but she didn't do because she was worried about other people. And she was like, well, I want to do this, but like, who's going to take care of so-and-so? And I'm like, and then like, just as the clean out the house and everything and all those things were playing, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to, great things as my mom taught me. I think that was one of her best lessons, was showing me what she did not do with her life. So I'm just like, wow, I know now that I'm not going to if I think I have a gift I'm going to try to fucking put it out there. I don't care if it offends somebody or whatever. How I look at it, if those people that you are thinking about really do love you and care for you, they want you to be happy in your reality, not their reality.
Bro. That was some fucking heat, dude. That was some heavy shit. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that's interesting. So let me ask you, after the whole thing with your mom, I mean, were you already in business at that point, or was that a sort of a motivator, a driving factor in why you wanted to get into business? I mean,
well, I was into the entrepreneurial space, but I was when she was still alive, I was working to try to get to like working for myself. Yep. And that's when I was doing like the door-to-door contracting, contracting with bigger companies, trying to leverage their platform to just, try to learn some skills and make money at the same time. Then, when her health went, south pretty quickly, that's like, it was like decided to start our real estate, like the real estate thing, probably 2 months into that whole process. Now we were doing like the basic things like filing, like looking at websites to like find like how to apply for LLC, like very basic things. And then that happened, and then that's when I was like, well, it was kind of weird, that I started this business, and then like that happened. I was like, I felt like there was a reason that I had to start this. Like I didn't like, I was like thinking about, I was like, yeah, I want to do it, but then like once that happened, I was like, I think like the higher power is telling you, bro, that you have to do this. Yeah. Because there is no going back. And to be honest, I am fucking lazy. I do not like to listen to anybody else. So because of that, I was just like, dude, I can't have a job not because I'm actually lazy, like, oh, I can't work, but I'm just like, dude, I have no problem picking up the boxes, but now because you told me to pick up the boxes, I don't want to fucking pick up those boxes. And I realized that about myself, so I was like, dude, yeah, you're going to have to, because I'm not going to lie, I was running trains on interviews, dude. I don't know how many jobs I got from like 16 to 19. I think I may have had 20 jobs, dude, just left and right. Like and that lack of discipline was okay because my mom kind of looked at it like, well, he always has a job. He just can't keep one.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, he's trying. So like, if I was like, Mom, listen, I quit that job, and she would like help me out or whatever. So that event was like, let me know, like, dude, you have to do this business because, dude, this is going to be the only thing that's going to allow you to have that kind of autonomy where, yeah, it's an entity, but it's an entity that I created with my business partner. So I feel like it's an extension of us. So it's almost like, this is almost like the, not replacement, but this is like I guess a supplement to that unconditional love that I was getting from her. It's like, well, listen, this is my business. My business is mine. I'll be damned if my own business is like, yo, I'm not helping you through the situation. So if I came on a hard situation now financially or something, I know that like I can go to my entity and like fix that. Whereas before, that was my mom's, like, I guess, role in my life. Not that wasn't her only role, but like, but that was like, if I had that, like, dude, you kind of made a mistake. How are you going to fix this? You kind of need a couple $100. That was my default, security blanket. So I would say those top 3 events were probably definitely my biggest things. But dude, actually, no, there's another one. So I don't know what they do anymore. But pledging, dude. Like, dude, that shit was crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
we could go off on that. I don't think they do. I don't think for a long time they do any of this shit anymore. Like, nothing like anything we went through. You know, that's been squashed for a while. Yeah. Put that out there right now for the record.
Yeah. So like, that was one of the biggest things because I was like, dude, you did that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you did that voluntarily too, yes. I'm like, why the fuck are you bitching about some fucking paperwork right now? Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, you remember the hosting? You remember the basement? I'm like, you know what? This is not even that bad. You know what? I was bitching about this paperwork, but shit, you know what? This paperwork looking real good right now after I thought about that shit.
So wait, I want to go off on that real quick. So I remember I heard that exact same perspective when I was in school, maybe like junior year, and I talked to an alumni. I think it was Sully. Do you know Sully?
Yeah.
So Sully, obviously most people watching this don't know him. He's now like a pretty successful guy. He's like a CFO of a nonprofit in Philly and does pretty well for himself. And he always, he told me, he was like, I didn't mind staying late and doing the bitch work for people because he was like, I just did way worse bitch work for people. Like, I did way worse bitch work for people when I was a pledge and shit like that. And like, obviously people, will say, oh my God, it's terrible what they make you go through, this, that. Like, yeah, it's not enjoyable. It's not supposed to be enjoyable. Like, it's supposed to make you hate your life. Like, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to build your mental toughness. I mean, and like, I wanted to talk about what you were talking about in your door-to-door sales shit. Like, that act of like, I can't even imagine that. First off, like, I work from home. I wake up at 8:30. I mean, I don't. I try to wake up at like 6 o'clock and get my shit done. But like, I could get away with waking up at 8:30, rolling out of bed, and like logging on. It's like, for you to tell me you get driven to a neighborhood, no food, no water, dropped off, and said, all right, go sell some shit. We'll see you in 6 hours. Yeah. And rain, snow, sleet, or shine. And you just, like, you don't have an option there. Like, you have to go do it or you are fired. And that builds a lot of, that's an interesting scenario because it builds a lot of mental toughness and teaches you a good mindset towards that type of shit.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that door-to-door shit. Like, I mean, like, the money was cool and the experiences were cool, but like, dude, like, And I guess the reason why it was such a huge thing in, because it was a commission-based job.
Yeah.
So nobody knew what you were, like, it was a commission-based job and you got jumped off.
Right.
You didn't have to do anything because nobody knew. Like, they would drop you off and say, listen, it's 2:00. I'll meet you ready at 15. I'm like, all right, cool. So in theory, you could have just stood there and just macked out all day on the block and and they could just picked you up and you could have been like, yeah, today was so-and-so, yeah, but it could have just lied to them because you were the only one that actually knew what happened.
Right.
So, like, that just whole, like, I don't know how many times, dude, I wanted to fucking quit that shit, but I was like, dude, you're just, where the fuck are we? Dude, you can't quit this shit because someone dropped you the fuck off. What are you, like, what are you?
You don't have any out right now unless you're calling fucking Uber or some shit.
And because I lived 55 minutes from my job, I didn't live 55 minutes like, traffic, like, it was 55 minutes smooth on 83, so you were driving, it was not close, like, and I mean, I know you're big into running, fuck out of here. I was there, even if I was like, I'm running home from that distance, I would have been running like half an ultra at that point. And I'm like, dude, like, that is so far away. I am not quitting to walk.
Yeah.
And because they dropped you off there, you would have to go back to the office. And if you did quit, and then like the way the celebrate, like the way it went, like we would have like this thing called a bell party. And like after everyone had their days, you would like, hey, would you run into in the field? All right, you knocked on 27 doors, or you knocked on 60 doors, you had 27 people come out, you had pitched to 27 of them. 3 of them came into presentations, 1 became a close. Looks like your intro to short story into presentation is a little low, so we're going to try to figure out tomorrow how to bump that number up.
That's a good way to approach that stuff.
Yeah.
Retrospective.
So, like, because they had those kind of things, we would break our days down like that. And then after that, we would have, like, there was these things they would throw in the middle of the office floor. And it was pretty much like, it was like everybody would kind of, there was like, I forgot, it was like a bell. There was like a gong. And then there was like this little tiny bell. And pretty much it signified how well you did that day. So, like, the little bell was like, you got like one little baby ass sale. The blue bell was like, yeah, you did all right. You had 2 sales, you good. Then like the gong was like 3 or 4. Then like if you, because we took a lot of notes in the office, so everyone always had notebooks and shit on them. So like if you threw your notebook on the floor, that means you had 5 sales.
Damn.
All that kind of shit like that. So, it was one of those things where if you quit and didn't do shit, you were cool, but then you were gonna go to the office and get smacked in the face because you're gonna be like, damn, someone's gonna ring that bell, so it lets me know that they actually went out here and tried, and I was a bitch.
That's competition, right?
Yeah.
Competition as a motivator.
Yeah.
Some people argue that it's not good in the workplace. Some people argue that it is. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and argue both sides, but like that's what that company was doing. It's saying like, yo, look at what these people did. What are you doing? Type shit.
Yeah, and the reason why it was such a good place because like the areas we covered they were in an area code, so it wasn't like I was doing door to door in like this area in this neighborhood and you were 5 hours somewhere else. Everybody was in the same area, so you couldn't even try to say, oh, it was cold out. I'm like, dude, almost said it. Yeah, I'm like, he was like, that homie was only like 3 blocks away from you, bro, and they dropped him off. I mean, was the water that much? Was the ring that much wetter for you than it was for him? Really, bro? Nah, I just think you're a weak bitch and you just mad as fuck because he or she wasn't and you are, so you're mad as fuck now. Right. So I felt like just the way the job was, it created so much character because you couldn't. Oh man, you just couldn't, like, if you gave up, you could, but like you would, like, the only person you fucked over was yourself.
Right.
And that feeling of, yo, I just fucked myself over, I was like, man, I don't like this feeling. And then ever since then, yeah, I hated it, but I was like, dude, you gotta keep going because you can't quit because what do you look like?
Right.
Quitting your job, living in your in-laws' house, like that. No, dude. Like,
yeah, that doesn't show well.
Right. Yeah, I was like, so because I just toughed it out and stayed there until I found something that suited me better, which insurance was not that, but I thought it was.
Well, that's good. I mean, talking about shit that suits you better. Obviously, now you got your own business, and it seems like it's going fairly well. I mean, from what I've seen, just in terms of like your Instagram content and shit, like you guys have been crushing it this year. I mean, way more than you have been in the past.
Yeah.
So
man.
real quick, take me through, before we get into like how you're crushing it now, take me through like beginning, like first year or so in business, from idea to like functioning business model you have now. Like what did that look like for you? I'm sure you had a couple partners, shit like that.
Yeah. So from where we were to where we're at now, how it pretty much started.
When did you start?
So real estate in general, we started May 2019.
Okay.
And I say that because we closed on our first duplex and we house hacked that. So we had a duplex, we had a garage in the back. So we rented out the garage to, somebody else, and then we put a tenant downstairs, and then me and my wife, we lived upstairs.
Smart.
And then Roger, my other business partner, he actually lived out in the Philadelphia area. He was our other business partner. He was my homeboy. Now, I was actually working. I did actually fall off of that entrepreneur spirit. I did actually go back and get an hourly job. And it was all right. And then he hit me up. And it was weird because he was hitting me up and I was...
You were house hacking during...
No.
Okay.
Like how it started was... I know I'm all over the place, but...
Yeah, that's cool.
How that business started was, he was like on that, like, dude, you should get lit. And I'm like, dude, no, I'm trying to fucking have my family tree look like a fucking sequoia, bro. So because of that, like, I can't be fucking drinking. I still do that or whatever, but I'm like, nah, see, you guys are getting lit way too frequent. I cannot do that. So he hit me up. He's like, dude, like, you want to start a business? And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, yeah, like, I had no idea what he was talking about. And he was like, yeah, let's do like a rental business or whatever. So like, that was that initial spark was the end of 2018. He just hit me up out of nowhere. Okay. And then we had him. It was me, him, and we had a third partner. He was our homeboy. We're still cool with him. And he was, let's just say, he liked the idea of,
not the execution.
Yeah, he liked the idea of being a boss. He didn't like the cost of that. Mm-hmm. So we were homies, and at the time we weren't prudent, in our decision making. So we kind of just just drug him along. Yeah. We were like, yeah, we kind of centered everything around him. He seemed to be the least committed, so we tried to build all of our meetings around him and everything like that. So it kind of slowed us down. So then, long story short, he was like, fuck this, I'm out. Okay. So then we were like, well, dude, what are we going to do?
Did you have an LLC at this point, or is this pre-LLC?
We did have one, but it was with him, and then he quit. So I was like, well, we can't use that one anymore.
So what, did you dissolve it completely?
Yeah, we did eventually dissolve that one. And so we were tripping, like, dude, what are we going to do? Because, like, we started a business with the intent. I was like, let's just have 3 people, people start business with their friends.
One third.
Yeah, like, all that shit. And for us, we didn't have, and the reason why we were tripping is because we were trying to get into rentals then. We didn't know about, we didn't have the knowledge we have now. So we didn't really have a plan. So our plan was to get started. We knew we weren't going to get approved. I was working commission jobs for years. My credit at that time was not that great. Mm-hmm.
Was he in the same situation credit wise, like not crazy good?
Yeah, like, but the our third business partner at that time, he had probably the best credit. So what I remember we were literally talking about like putting our shit up for collateral because we're like, yo, we are not gonna get approved, so let's just see if we can like get a loan from somewhere else. And I was like, yo, I'll put up my car and whatever the fuck I own,
like hard money,
like or something, money. Like something. I was like, I didn't know what I knew now, so I was like, dude, like. Me and Roger were like, yo, let's like, we'll put up our cars or whatever if we need to get the fund. I don't give a fuck, whatever it is to get started. He wasn't as committed, so we had to split ways. And because we were like, dude, we need somebody to help us like get this funding for this first property, or we're gonna have to put this shit on hold or like sell drugs or something. I don't know how to fucking get this money this fast. So like,
when in doubt, trap it out.
So I was like, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. And then I was like, well, he's like, yeah, like we need a third business partner. Now, this is probably, I know we talked about this earlier. This is like that weird ass dynamic that you brought up earlier. Mm-hmm. I started this voyage by myself. So I was, trying to stretch myself in terms of my spiritual limit and all those things. And my wife was not on that wave. So there was a weird time where like I was working. She was just like,
were you married at the time?
No.
Okay.
We were just together.
But
we were together, I think 5 years 4 or 5 years at that point.
So pretty sure you were going to be married.
Yeah. I had at that point had no intention on leaving her. And I don't think she had any intention on leaving me. I think so like we ended up getting married, but I think we weren't going to split up regardless. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of the feeling that we kind of had there. So what were we talking about?
We were talking about you starting your business. You taking her on as business partner.
Yeah. So she wasn't on this. So I was doing door to door, and she was just working her 9 to 5. She's like, dude, you're grinding. What the fuck? You're not. There's no money. This is stupid. What's going on? Yeah, I was making some money here and there, but I was impulsive as fuck and blew the shit.
She didn't see the vision.
Yeah, she didn't see that. So because of that, there was this really crazy tension between us already.
For sure.
And this was after my mom passing. So now I was in this weird dynamic where I was very loose with the money I did make, and I was very undisciplined as well. So being loose with your money and being undisciplined in a commission based, it doesn't fucking work. No. You're gonna see a whole bunch of A's and V's. And that's what happened. So there would be times where I would just get money, but I was so impulsive I would just blow it. So she kind of was the smart one with the money. So she kind of handled more things. So because of that, I had to make a play. I was like, dude, you're going down this path of, and you're not quitting. You're not going to stray off the path. Mm-hmm. So I was like, dude, I feel like I need a third business partner. I was like, yo, her credit score is fucking amazing. And I was like, she probably is looking for something to do. I was like, I don't know what she is doing. I know she liked her job, but like, I feel like she saw me doing my shit. And I think it kind of made her mad because she didn't have anything to like make her want to like do what I was doing, to be like, yo, you're really out here and you're like getting shitted on, but you're just like, why are you loving this?
You're so fucking driven. Like, what are you like? Right? What is making you so driven?
So like, then I was like, dude, we're on the phone. I was like, dude, I'm gonna ask Kate. I'm gonna see if she'll do it. And then she was just like, well, yeah, what do I need to do? I was like, all right, this is what you need to do. And the whole point of it was, me and Roger saw something. We're like, yo, we can get this done. And then she kind of was like the one to help provide some of that infrastructure to help us get there.
The organization part of it.
Yeah, like. Because she's the, what do you call it? She's like the, I don't even know what color it is on the battery, but like the I guess the black one is not live or whatever. Whichever one is not live, she's that one.
Right.
She's like, yeah, and then like, yeah, me and Roger will just do something, and we're just like, dude, what the fuck? How'd we get there? Right. So she was that person. So like, we were like, well, we need someone to help us get these fundings or whatever. So I asked her. I was like, yeah, you're just gonna like probably do these things well, like go from here. So George, no, I want to mention his name. Him quitting. I was in 2019, 2020. I mean, end of 2018, 2019 starts. She jumps on. Now we're starting to see momentum, but it's just still those basic, like, oh, we got approved for this license, or we got this, and little small things like that. Oh, we met up with 3 lenders. We talked to them. We like those kind of little small things.
Mm-hmm. Still probably big at the time.
Yeah. At the time, it was fucking amazing. Yeah. So we were doing those things. And then right before we closed on her property, that's when my mom passed. So when that happened, I quit the job I was at just on the spot.
Damn.
Yeah, and then I went to this other one because it paid a little bit better, but I hated that one as well. So we closed on our rental property. I quit that job. Now I worked at this other place. I fucking hated that as well.
Got a lot of jobs.
Right? Yeah. Like we didn't close on the property. We got approved for the funding to close on the property, I should say. So then we're on our way. So then I'm moving out of my apartment. Roger did have his one of our homies met our mentor just this one time, and like he was like, they are both Eagles fans, and he was like, dude, do you know anyone in Philly? I have a business out there, and I need someone to like help me like get deals out there. And our homie was like, yeah, I know somebody out there. So Roger took that. This is how we got introduced to the wholesaling. We did the rentals. We didn't know shit about wholesaling, so we're like, yeah, we're just gonna get rentals and just like try to refinance, do all those kind of things to like level up. And then that's when he's like, yeah, like this dude Adam, that's his name. He was like my mentor. He was like, I still talk to him regularly now. He was looking for someone to help him like with his phone calls and like help him like with his real estate like inbound funneling. So then he's like, yeah, I know someone out there. That was Roger. So Roger took that, and then we were already doing our rental business. So he was like, well, I'm in real estate, so yeah, I might as well, learn this. And then he was like, yo, you understand the kind of things I'm seeing. So then the business world kind of became like he was talking about this weird thing, and I was like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Wholesaling?
Yeah. I was like, but he seems really fucking lit about it. So then he got really good at that. So then it got to the point where he got so good at bringing leads to the company. They're like, yo, there's so many of these. We need somebody to off these because we can't. Because he's bringing them in so fast that we need someone to just do this.
And like you're talking like he's bringing them in like he's got it under contract already. Wow.
Yeah. So like he was doing so many of those for them. My mentors had other businesses as well. So they're like, dude, we just don't have the time to try to sell all of these properties and do all this work. So then
you found your niche.
Yeah. So then they were like, hey, we need someone to help us sell the deals. And then they obviously, because Roger did so much for them, they're like, do you know anybody? And he's like, yeah, I know a couple of people. So then I kind of inserted myself into the wholesaling world. So then like my wife's role kind of became, like I said, she's more of the one who stays grounded.
Like administrative sort of like
stuff. So she does that shit, and she also is the person who's like, we think of something, and then she's like, yeah, that's great, but did you really think about this, and this? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, if we would have pushed this button, yeah, that would have fucked us. So like that's her role right now, and that's really her role mainly for our business because she still has her job.
Oh, okay.
So that's and the reason why we came to that was she's keeping her job is I actually quit to work on the business full time. The reason being she worked at a medical field, her job made more money, and because I was in the wholesaling like firsthand and she was just kind of getting the information from me and Roger, it just made sense for me and Roger to just sit here. I'm like, all right, listen, we're gonna just propel this shit forward. And she pretty much like she handles a lot of her stuff. Actually, a lot of her stuff in her rental business, she does a lot of that shit. Okay. Because I mean it's because like when people leave, you got to fix the place up and shit. And I am way too impatient to like fix shit. Like I just want to get it done. Yep. And because of that, you know, when you want good tenants and you throw floorboards down sloppily, you're not gonna get the best tenants. Right. And for me, I'm just like, dude, I don't want to do this no more. But she likes that kind of shit, so she does a lot of that for us. So our business pretty much started out keeping everything in house. The reason why we kept everything in house, there was actually a huge reason. I believe in karma. I believe in energy, and what kind of energy you put out. I am such a terrible employee. I was quit and I never put in 2 weeks. Like I quit. I think most of I'm actually half the jobs I quit mid shift. Like just like mid. Like fuck this. Yes, I was just like I'm out. And they were like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. So
I can't imagine. Like personally, like I can't imagine doing that shit. Like that's so funny, bro.
So like because I had that tendency, you know, I was like, yeah, I just gotta leave.
You gotta work for yourself.
Yeah. So like that was that. So I hate when I lose my train of thought, dude.
Nah, it's cool. You're talking about how like you believe in karma.
I keep shit in house because I believe in karma. So I was like, because my mentor, it happened to him. And I felt like it was going to happen to me because of my karma. He hired somebody pretty early in his business to outsource a lot of things. Okay. He got fucked 2 ways with that. One, he hired someone and he had no idea what he really hired them for. Right. So they were doing their job, but then he's like, when they quit, because he actually fired them because they weren't really a cultural fit anymore. He said that person was a virtual assistant. They they shut his shit down. Like they created all of his like streamlines in his processes. So when they fired him, they just cut his shit off. So we had to go. Restart. So I had a feeling the whole time because he was he's like a 4-hour work week kind of a person.
Oh.
So like if he can outsource as much shit and just have it get done, and he just looks at the money, he's okay with that.
Understood.
I would prefer that, but I was like, dude, you were employed to do so many jobs for people, and you just did not do them, or you just said fuck it at any given moment. So I was like, dude, can you? I was like, think about what you did to those people's businesses. I was like, that's probably. I'm like, dude, that's gonna happen to you hell of time.
So let me ask you this: is that going to be a problem? Do you think moving forward in terms of scalability? Because I think that would be a problem. Obviously, you have to nurture the right culture, right?
Yeah.
You have to make sure that your employees are they're not going to be as invested in the business as you, but like you have to, give them some, equity or make them,
of course,
align with the mission.
Of course.
Do you think when you quit all those, like it sounds like you just didn't give a fuck about the business, you weren't aligned with them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So with that being said, that led to my thought process being, dude, I have to learn all of these skills in-house for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want to get burned like my mentor.
Facts.
He's a smart dude. I'm not saying he's a bad businessman or whatever. Like, I mean, that dude was like actually one of the top.
You learn from people's mistakes.
Yeah. So I don't want to sit here and say that he's not a good person or whatever, but like he let me know. I was like, all right, I know if I outsource something, one, I don't really know how, if I don't know what I'm doing at all, how do I know if you're doing a good or bad job?
And I would just say that's a huge thing in my from my work perspective. I still work 9 to 5. Like the people, the leadership that actually understand the day to day, I see as so much more effective leaders than the leaders that are just sort of sitting there and barking orders that don't really understand what's going on in the trenches. So I respect that a lot.
So we did that. So there's a couple of reasons we did that. I was like, dude, I just believe that when we're trying to make this scale, I feel like someone is going to quit on me because I did it to so many people. Right. So I was like, I'm going to have to learn all the basic shit. And we all decided, listen, we're going to delegate this, whatever. We're all going to just learn. And we're not experts at any of those things by any fucking means. I mean, maybe at negotiations for getting deals, I don't think we're experts yet, but I think we're getting better in that aspect. Everything outside of those things, I'd probably say we're entry level. Like, we can get the job done, but I don't think that we're elite in those things. However, I can say, hey, yo, listen, we made this much money during the pandemic and the lockdowns and the riots and shit, and we did everything ourselves. So now, because I know what I did, I'm like, okay, so I did this and this led to this. Right. So now I'm sitting here. If you come in to help me, you have to be at this bar. But if I would have never did it myself, how do I know if they're doing my mic? I'm like, they're like, oh, well, they did X, Y, and Z. I'm like, I don't know if that's fast or slow because I don't know.
You don't know where the bar is.
Yeah. So that was that's kind of how we started our business first year one. Besides that, I know that we learned a lot about the front end, like negotiation and shit like that. And there's a part of our business that fucking sucks. Now, it's the most important part of the business, but it sucks. So we tried to hire someone to do that for us pretty early, give them the experience. Mm-hmm. But we spiritually we weren't ready. Like we were like 3 months. We're like 3 months into the business trying to fucking hire people. Yeah, dude, what the fuck are we doing? Like we tried. We slowed ourselves down. The person I don't think they really had the skills, but at that time.
You didn't know what the skills were necessary.
Yeah, and like, I was like, and that was my first time training somebody, so I was like, I felt they weren't picking it up, but I was like, dude, what if you're a shitty teacher because you've never done this before? Right. So yeah, the first year we fucked up a lot of shit. I think the first year we somehow made it because I mean, I'll be honest, we had to be so blessed because I'll say this on the record, and I don't care if anybody knows. I did the dumbest shit ever in 2020. We were low on money and, marketing is how you generate revenue.
That's how
right?
you get leads, how you get those leads convert, of course.
So our dumbasses said, "Yo, we're running low on money. Stop marketing." That's what we actually fucking did that. Yeah. So yeah, dumb as shit. So that's why I feel like we had to be blessed, because like I don't know how the fuck we made it.
Right.
But somehow we did. So we definitely made a lot of mistakes in year one, but obviously year one was just really finding
it was a learning
the strengths and weaknesses for everyone on the team, and then just making sure that we can like. I don't know if you remember the Delta push-ups we used to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the push up when they used to do the Delta push-ups. Yeah, and you had to pretty much do them a certain way, so like you didn't absolutely murder your like shit. Yeah. So like we kind of tried to find that balance where it's like, okay, there's three of us.
You got to lean on someone for this and someone else for this, and I'm doing this part.
Yes. So we did that, and then we also tried to in our first year not only specialize, but also make sure that whatever you specialized in, you made sure that you at least documented enough to where someone else in the business can like kind of know. Mm-hmm. Because you never know what might happen, So
of course,
that's the reason why. And that's the reason why we have our things specialized. I mean, split up so we can have everything specialized within a person. So that way, when we go to make a decision on outsourcing, we consider and say, no, like Roger's probably really good at outsourcing things, like, people being on the phone because he loves that shit. So like he's better at knowing, like, maybe not teaching them all the specifics. We're still learning to teach him those things. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's still things that I'm learning. I mean, for me, the main thing is patience, because I think because I quit jobs so easily, I'm not perfect. I actually do have a issue where I'm impatient with. Sometimes I'm impatient with my employees, like I curse at them or like I'm angry with them or whatever. But sometimes I forget that, like, I look at something and I'm like, dude, this is so easy. How'd you mess this up?
Facts.
And I'm just like,
the same struggles. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't get it. How did you mess this up?
It's like you're looking at it through your lens.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah. And then sometimes I guess I've gotten a lot better at it over time, but I struggled with trying to communicate things and being patient with people, because I always felt like people should just understand. I'm like, if you are on my team and you work for me and I'm telling you something to do, I'm not telling you something to sabotage you, because you are a part of my success. So if I sit here and tell you to go do something, you fumble the bag, I fucking fumbled by default.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if fucking Dak Prescott goes and fumbles 5 times, the Cowboys lost. That means Jerry fucking Jones lost.
He's not celebrating because someone on his team fucked up. Yeah.
So it's like, maybe it didn't affect me directly, but I'm like, nah, see, like, you still got my shit on you still representing my shit, and you're fucking up. I told you to do this because of this, and why didn't you do it? Right. Why would I tell you something that's gonna fuck you over? Because it's gonna fuck me over. Right. But I had to like understand. I'm like, dude, not everybody like realizes that, dude. Like, you gotta like either articulate that or give them time to understand.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I know I just was all over.
I don't even remember what the fuck the question was, bro. We just went on a tangent, but like it was a great tangent. I mean, like that actually like helped me understand a lot of shit about just leadership in general. I feel like, and like one thing you were saying is like, it's you fumble by default if someone under you or someone that's taking direction from you fails, and it's like Jocko Willink always says, like, everything comes back to like a leadership problem. Like if someone fucked up, if an employee fucks up or a subordinate fucks up, it's ultimately on the leader. Like, regardless of what happened, like if you didn't tell them the process enough, you didn't communicate what contingencies, like what might have happened, and they end up fucking up, you all suffer, and that's ultimately your problem. Like that's a leader's problem. And the leader needs to identify what they could have done better to put the subordinate in a better place to win.
Nah, that's facts. And like a lot of people, like when it comes to like leadership, like sometimes they might say, well, that person sucks. Well, I'm like, well, listen, either you or whoever your recruiter is didn't see the bullshit.
Right.
So, yeah, it's still your fault. Yeah, now you can sit there and say, yeah, well, we hired that person and they immediately did something stupid and they defied everything. I'll be like, yes, that person used their autonomy to fuck up. And yet that person is fucking wilding for what they did. However, y'all still hired her or him. You saw something in them or didn't see this in them, and that's how it ended up.
Yeah, and you fucked up. Like, at the end of the day, every fuck up, shit like that, like every time something is wrong, there's a lesson in that mistake that you can take and be better with. Like, and that's how I feel on the matter.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on because we'll never get off that subject if we don't. All right, so last thing about like general business that I just want to ask back a couple like questions really for my own benefit, and obviously anyone that is interested in real estate can learn too. But before we get into that, like anybody in the entrepreneur space, anyone that wants to be an entrepreneur or not even full-time entrepreneur, go out on their own, make content, like anything like that, anything entrepreneurial. Yeah. What would you tell them? Like, what your best piece of advice to me or to any other entrepreneur that's just trying to get on their shit and start a business or just be better, you know, build their business acumen, anything like that? What would you give them? Like, what would you tell them?
Advice to like get started, you mean?
Yeah, like someone getting started in the space, you know, someone that has no fucking clue what they're gonna do, or like what, or maybe they have a business but it's just starting and they don't really know what they're doing.
Got you. I would say, if you're gonna start something, this might sound crazy again. I would say have conversations with yourself out loud. And the reason why I would say that is, if I forgot who said this, I did, it was not me, but they pretty much said that if your brain was a human being, you would hate that person because they would tell you everything wrong and why you can't do anything. I'm like, yeah, they really would. So I'd like to talk out loud to myself when I'm going to do something, because if I talk to myself, I'm always trying to play devil's advocate with my negative subconscious, because, you know, a lot just because of our primal instincts and because, you know, where we came from as a species. I know we see all these technological advances. We are not that much different from the people 50,000 years ago.
Biologically, we're so similar.
So, like, because of that, you know, back then they had to focus on the negative shit because they didn't have houses. They were just out there in the fucking sticks. So it was like, dude, we have to look for every problem because, like, there's lines and shit and all these, like, yo, well, everything out here will fucking kill us. Right. So I can understand why humans, we subconsciously always try to find the negative. Mm-hmm. So for me, I have conversations and I always play devil's advocate with my mind. And when I say why, I'm like, because my default is always a negative response. So if I'm playing devil's advocate, I'm always like, yo, shut the fuck up. What you talking about, dude?
Yeah. Like there's that's a baseless, like, that's almost no reason to be negative about that.
Yeah. Or I'll just sit there and I'm like, oh, well, what if you like blow your money? And I'm like, well, all right, what if I fucking invest well and fucking make it? Yeah. You fucking idiot. So, like, I would say definitely
talk to yourself.
Have conversations with yourself. Try hella shit, because I figured out there's two ways to find out what you're trying to do. Either you are a fucking master at guessing and you just get that shit right the first time, or just use process of elimination. Just find out what the fuck doesn't work. You will eventually get to what the fuck does. Yeah, I would definitely say that's another thing to, you know, trying to get started. I would say outside of that, dude, you have to diversify your fucking circle. I can't. And the reason why I say this is because, you know, if you're trying to start something new, you can't fucking be around the same people you've always been around, because they're not going to inspire nothing new. Because why the fuck would they? They're your old homies. They want to do the old shit.
Yeah.
Your cog fits in their system how you are right now.
Right.
So they're never going to encourage you to do something different, because that's going to fuck up their system. So if you make a move, even if they don't want to make a move, they have to, because you were integral in their life and you were no longer doing the same thing in their life. So they, by default, even if it's just like, oh, that's just my homie, I kick it with him on the weekend and drink. All right, if you decide to go do something where you can't be with your homie, kick it and drink on the weekend, he or she has to make a move.
Yeah.
They either got to find a new drinking person, drink by themselves, or be like, yo, this shit is stupid, and go do something else with their life. But regardless, your move forces their hand to make a move. So your old homies are never gonna ever really try to encourage you to do something.
Damn, bro. That's powerful. That's really powerful.
So I would say you gotta diversify your circle, and I don't just mean like, you know, in terms of like what your people look like. You know, yet surround yourself by different philosophies. Doubt your thinking. I think you actually had actually your last podcast episode talked a lot about that. So I would say that's definitely one of them. I would say play the what if you were them game. And what I mean by that is, if you're trying to start out and you're like, oh, man, I'm just so nervous, I don't know how to start. I tell myself, listen, what would you say if you were watching a TV show right now and you were talking to the TV? And then my brain starts to say, well, I would do this, blah, blah, and I'm like, oh, see, you got your solution. Let's go.
Yeah.
Facts. I'm like, what would I tell somebody? If I was on this movie screen and they had this problem, well, dude, like if I was in a situation, I would do, oh, there's my solution. Let's go do it now. Right.
I like that.
I would say, you know, having a spreadsheet mentality, just because, like, you know, when we look at our things subjectively, we start to believe, you know, shit like, oh, well, they did it like this, but they didn't have it like this, and this. I'm like, she acting like a bitch now. Yeah. So I would say, you know, definitely diversify your thought process, diversify your philosophies, diversify the people you hang out with. And what I mean by that is not just like, if you're a 22-year-old black male, like go try to find some 72-year-old white women. I don't know. Like, you have to go out here and try different shit. Like, if everyone that you know is in Pennsylvania, start meeting some people in other places.
Yes.
Because, you know,
that was a huge reason for why I wanted to start my Instagram, because I felt like everybody I talked to was in a very, it wasn't like they're the exact same person, but there's a common demographic there of most people live in Pennsylvania. And like, why would I, like, even if most people, like a lot of those people have different philosophies and other aspects, they all live in Pennsylvania. So like, they're all going to think the same shit in terms of like they don't live at a beach. Like, people have a different mindset on the West Coast. Like, like East Coast, West Coast mindset are very different. And I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but I know that I want to know how other people think in other parts of the country or world. Like, because you have to understand, like, you have to acknowledge the fact that, like, we all think a certain way due to the environment we were put in. And even if that environment isn't the same across people, if there's a common denominator in your circle or your friend group, try to diversify that common denominator, whatever it is. If it's race, if it's, you know, sexual orientation, if it's location, like all that shit, bro. Yeah. Like, because that'll just serve you well. Like, it'll just broaden your perspective and make you question shit and learn shit about the world, you know?
So I would definitely say that if you're trying to start out, definitely do those things, diverse. Because like when you're around everyone that's like you, they're probably gonna give you some like shit that you would probably say, and it's just like, it doesn't help me. Like, if you know, like,
I would have done that already.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, you know, just how we're in our organization, right? I'm pretty sure that if we never left, it would probably be exactly the same. Just, we'd be like, well, this is what the fuck we did.
That was pretty cool. Like, stick to
exactly.
It.
So then, like, the people after us, like, yo, I don't really like this. We need to do this, and this. And we're like, shut up. But then we leave. They get older, and then it's like, oh, you know, you can do what you need to do.
Do your own shit. Exactly.
But our organization probably, I mean, I know the organization started with a bunch of people from, like, you know, the army and everything. Yeah. If we just stayed like that, we would
still be a bunch of dudes from the army. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like that's how I would say to you. I would say definitely diversify your thoughts, process, your conversations, your political ideologies. I would say if you're liberal, try to go listen to conservative podcasts or read conservative articles every day,
and
vice versa. Yeah, just so you can just like, well, let me see what they're talking about.
Yes, I do that all the time. You know, I have my leanings like in philosophy and in politics, but like I really do try to make it a point to hear out the other side, because not only does that help me understand where those people come from, but if I have to argue my point of view to someone, and I talk about this all the time, if I have to explain how I think about something and get into a debate with someone, I want to be able to defend my position and understand the other position, because that helps me understand why I think the way I think and why they think the way they think.
Yeah.
And that's so powerful. Like, nowadays, no one wants to fucking hear the other side. And it's so shitty because you leave so much knowledge transfer on the table when you don't listen to someone else's view.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
so,
facts.
all right. I just want to move on a little bit about Quick Sell Valley in general. Like, I want to hear, I think we covered a lot of like the origin story, startup type shit. And we talked a lot about like where, you know, your team, stuff like that. So I want to know, first off, I want you to explain to anyone that's listening, because I don't know how many people know a lot about real estate. So give them like a quick, like 5-minute, like, what is wholesaling? Because that's, from what I understand, that's what most of your revenue is from, probably. Would you say? Yeah. So tell me about wholesaling. Tell them about, you know, what's a quick 5-minute. I mean, from what I understand, you're sort of middlemaning deals, putting in contact buyer and seller. So go a little bit into that.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's the gist of it. But to go a little bit further into it, what you're pretty much doing is you're selling your equitable interest in a property to somebody else.
Okay.
So, or in other words, you're being the source of the real estate transaction.
Okay.
So, you know, there's things where you put things on the market where it's like, I can go on Realtor.com or Zillow, Redfin or whatever, and I can see, they're selling this house for this much or whatever. Now, that's a consumer. That's going to be more for the consumer market.
Okay.
So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking for a fucked up house. Like, it has to be absolutely destroyed. The reason being is, you know, it's just like anything else. The raw materials are always cheaper than the manufactured goods. So if I can find a house that's completely dilapidated, I talk to them, hey, what happened? How did you get in this position? All right. That's how you got in this. Okay, how can we solve that for you?
Let me ask you, how are a lot of your clients into those positions?
A lot of them.
Variety of ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pawn shop business, so to speak. Yeah, I don't really know why people are selling their stuff for a discount. I just know that they're selling at a discount.
Understand.
For whatever purpose.
Got it.
Usually a distressed reason. But you know, we try to actually service the people that we work with, because a lot of people do in the wholesale business. I'm not knocking them. I mean, they learned that way. And a lot of people have seen success that way. A lot of people say they're going to buy the property. Right. We don't tell them that. Like, I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah.
And I do that because I'm like, what if that was my grandmother? I would be salty as shit if someone just was lying to my grandma saying they was going to do something. And the reason why we don't lie is because since we are not buying the property, we do our analytics, we do all that shit, and we believe that we could sell something. But we may shop it to like our investors. They may be like, fuck that, I don't want that. And then nobody wants it. Then we have to go back to that person and say, oh, you can't help you. Right? So because of that, we don't tell them, hey, listen, if we think the price is high, but they're really wanting to sell, we'll tell them, listen, we will try to get this sold for you.
If we can't promise it.
Yeah. And I'm like, but listen, you know, we will help you. We will try. We know if you need help with finding a place, or you need help, you know, finding some funding to put money down to, you know, move in, like, talk to us. We'll help you with those kind of things. That's kind of where we're at. The money obviously is important, but we're really focused on solving their problems, just being transparent, making sure that we can offer them a good service. I'll be honest with you. I've actually yesterday I threw away a deal. I didn't really throw away a deal. I had somebody I worked with. They're new, and they were excited because they were trying to, you know, get their first deal, get their first commission, all that. And I understand that. So they kind of danced around some parts of the script, and they didn't do it like maliciously. Right. They were just like, oh my gosh, this might be my deal, so let me just cut through the shit and try to close. So they did that, and I texted them. I was like, did you tell them because he sent me the notes and he said that she was a realtor and all that. So I was like, did you tell him that we are going to sell the property? He was like, no. So I was like, all right, this is not going to be a deal. Because I called her and I was like, hey, listen, my guy's pretty new. So I just wanted to call to clear everything up. Did he tell you that we're going to sell the property? He was like, well, I mean, if you guys are going to list it and sell it, I'm a realtor. I was like, yeah, I know.
Understood.
Yeah, I mean, it makes my service is literally pointless to you.
Right.
So I had to call and be transparent about that. Whereas I know people would have just sent the contract out and just acted as if they were gonna purchase it, send proof of funds and everything, and then that person, because the reason why they're in those fucked up positions is usually it's almost because of their wrongdoing, but sometimes it's not. Mm-hmm. But regardless, they're in a fucked up position. So I'm just like, well, if they're saying, you know what, selling this house is gonna help me get this funding so I can move to Wyoming so I can be with my grandmother before she passes away. I'm not trying to lie. That's some heavy shit to be lying on.
Yeah.
Because then I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, yo, am I going to sit here and call that person back? Is whoever is going to call that person back and say, hey, we can't get this deal done? And it's like, okay, so now they might say, oh, well, then you could try to negotiate your price, bring them down or whatever. But depending on how much you get to know that person and how much you actually genuinely care about being a good person, I couldn't see myself telling somebody, oh yeah, I couldn't see myself telling somebody, yeah, I need to sell my property. I'm in a fucked up position. I have to get somewhere because my family member's dying. I have X amount of months to get there, and this is the money I need. This is the price I need to get to. All right, cool. All right, if we're there and I know that, and I'm like, and I don't think that number's gonna work, I'll tell them, listen, I don't think that number's going to work with my network. Now, I know some realtors or whatever you might be able to work with. So just having our main thing of our business is having that honesty and that transparency and just not worrying about, dumb shit. Like I said, a lot of people in our business, they are coached and taught to say they're going to buy the property.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand in theory, when you look at the language, on the paper, you're not lying to them, because when you look at the paperwork in there, you can see that there's language in there that says I can assign this property to somebody.
Right.
But so we just tell them, yeah, we're gonna sell this to somebody for a profit. We just tell them the truth, and a lot of people honestly actually really prefer that because they're just like, wow, I appreciate you being honest with me. And and the reason why I also like that is because I've noticed. I actually got this from one of the dudes I worked with from Door to Door. Is fucking genius. I'm so mad I didn't even come up with it. He said I came to work high the very first day because then I could come in high and they would never know.
I know someone that said that shit too.
And I was like, holy shit. So I used that same application. I used that same theory. I was like, wow, if I just am transparent the whole time, when I am transparent, when if it's if I lie, and then have to tell them the truth, now everything is compromised, and now I'm actually trying to tell the truth, but I lied all these times. Now you don't trust me. So for me, I'm just like, listen, just tell the truth from the rip. So if I fuck up, I'm just like, hey, listen, I reevaluated the property. I did not see that there was this active 2 doors down from your house that shit closed. I know your property's not worth it anymore because that shit closed. So we can try still. You can shop with somebody else, or we could come down on the price. Whatever you want to do, just let me know. If you don't want to play ball no more, listen, I'll just terminate the contract and you can go play ball somewhere else.
Right.
So that's our business model. Like I said, a lot of people try to they'll do that and they'll wait, and then it's like, oh yeah, I already got my shit moved and shit. So it's like, hey, I can't do your numbers. So now you're like, well, fuck. I already my kids' school is already transferred over here. I already got a job out there. And okay, well, it's either I say fuck that shit, or I just come down 20,000, which I think is sleazy as fuck.
Right.
But yeah, people try that shit. We just tell them what we're doing and we go from there. We just want to make sure that we're providing a lot of value to people, and also making sure that people actually know that this avenue exists. Because a lot of people, even though like a lot of people do this or a lot of people make money from this, a lot of people just don't fucking know this thing if it exists.
Yeah, wholesaling.
It's not even real estate. There's so many things in wholesale that people just don't understand that exist. So that's how we approach it. But ultimately, what you're doing is you're just sourcing the real estate deal. And by sourcing the deal, all you're pretty much doing is you're pretty much. If you're almost like, I guess if you're in the sports, you're franchise. I'm pretty much franchise tagging a property,
right?
Where it's like, listen, if you want to get this property, you're gonna have to go through me.
Understand?
So it's like, I mean, I'm sorry, because when you franchise, when they franchise tag somebody, they pay them way more than the normal contract. This is like, well, you're only paying them for 1 year or whatever, and all that shit. But it's the same thing. It's like, the franchise tag. What does it do? That player cannot leave that spot without doing I don't even know if they can actually get out of that shit. And that's kind of what the contract is. It's like the franchise tag. It's like, yeah, you can try to cut me out, but I have this signed and I put the deposit down. So if you try to cut me out, I'm just going to go to my attorneys and you're just going to get fucked.
You're in trouble.
So you might as well just pay me my $15,000 and just walk the fuck on.
Right.
And and you might be like, well, why would somebody want to do that? Is when you are an investor and you start to see ROIs and shit, most people that invest in real estate because they probably like a lifestyle. It's not even, the money is cool, but most of them do it because of a lifestyle they're trying to live. And no one's going to compromise their lifestyle and or put their business in jeopardy because they don't want to pay me $15,000. If they sit here and say, yo, that flip, even with his $15,000 fee, our ROI will still be 60%. Are we gonna sit here and step over a 60% ROI for $15,000?
Because of some fucking pride, essentially.
Yeah. Right. So that's how it works. Because I'll just be like, well, listen, if you don't want to pay me my $15,000, my $10,000, $3,000, whatever the price may be, I'm like, well, listen, this blockbuster flip that you could have gotten, I'm gonna sell it to this dude, and then you're gonna see him close. You're gonna see him purchase it for $100 and then sell it for $450. And you're going to be salty as shit when he got the $3,000 in his pocket and you don't. Exactly. All because you want to keep $15,000. You stupid motherfucker.
Yeah. So like business people don't care about who they're giving their money to. If the numbers work out, they're going to fucking take it.
Yeah. So that's how it works. If anyone's thinking like, well, why would one just cut you out? Because we don't own the property. We don't. We just say
contract.
Yeah. So it's just like, so what we're pretty much doing is we're not selling the house. We're actually selling the equitable interest in the contract to somebody.
Paper, basically.
Yeah. That's literally what we're selling.
Right. Understood. All right. So, last question I think I got for you on this show, and it's about real estate, more for my own interests. Obviously, most of that shit was for my own interest, to be honest with you, because I want to get into real estate and I want to understand how a lot of different plays in real estate work. Because it's so interesting about real estate how you can do so much with it.
Yeah,
and that's what really interests me. So, what advice would you give to someone like me? So I want to house hack. I've been thinking about Tampa. Been thinking about that shit. Like, what advice would you give to someone like me to get into real estate, especially in such a fucked up, uncertain market right now?
Well, I want to start that by saying uncertainty always exists.
Yes.
If you're not a psychic fortune teller, if you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, then you're living in uncertainty. We're living in uncertainty right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say Tampa is fucking booming. I would say if you're trying to get into Tampa, I'm not saying you can't. I don't want to lie. I'm not gonna sit here and stroke your ego and be like, you can do anything. Yes, you can still do anything. I'm gonna let you know that I know people in the Tampa market. That shit is booming. So it's probably a seller's market. So if you want to get into a bidding war, you can still get a property. I'm not saying you have to get into. I'm not saying you could. There are probably properties in Tampa that are just fucking sitting there. Nobody's doing shit.
I'm sure. Yeah.
They're probably out there, but they're probably fucked up. Now, if you're saying, yeah, I want to, if you don't care about how you get in, then you can do wholesale or whatever. But if you're like, I'm gonna let you know, wholesaling is very lucrative, but how to explain this? It's like wholesaling is lucrative, but it's the how to explain this? It's like if wholesaling was like the medical field, we the nurses cleaning up the people that shit on themselves. Like that's what we're doing. Like it's not pretty. Like we're dealing with people who disappear out of nowhere in the transactions. It's not the pretty houses. You walk in, it's like, wow, there's burnt up cats on the floor, like actual burnt up cats. What the fuck is going on in this house? Like,
is that a real story?
Yeah, that actually happened.
Holy
like
shit.
like that's the kind of shit that like we're dealing with. So like, realtors don't want to deal with that because a realtor gets paid off the final price of the commission. I mean, a commission from the final price. So they're clearly trying to drive up the value as high as possible. These houses are fucked up. So the person who would pay maximum value for it probably doesn't have the liquid cash for it. So they'd have to get a loan. No bank is going to loan on a fucked up piece of property. Okay. So you're going to have to go to a hard money lender or be a flipper or something, but they have the funds. But the upside to the funds is you have you're selling them the speed and the convenience. Listen, I know that dude offered you 50. I'm offering you 30, but listen, I'm going to close tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I need the cash right now. Like,
Now, you can sit there and deal with some loan officers and negotiate and wait 6 months and maybe get your money, or you can take $30,000 right now. So, what do you want to do? So, like, that's the upside if you're going to that wholesale route. But now, if you do not, if you're like, man, listen, I don't want to grind like that. I like grinding, but I like I like leveraging different types of terms or structures or whatever you might want to call them. I would say house hacking is definitely another fire-ass way to get in there. Yeah. But ultimately, dude, your best bet in terms of trying to get into the real estate market, money is everywhere. So money is honestly, that's the most irrelevant part. People think it's the most important part. It's actually the least relevant part. You don't really need to worry about the money. Just get the deal. Yeah. If you can get the deal, people will syndicate your shit. And what a syndication is pretty much when you try to get a big ass deal, and everybody that you're trying to get the deal done with, they know that you cannot get it done. Like it's like, yeah, like honestly, you could probably syndicate a 400 unit property right now.
Keep going.
But you're not. They're like you're probably not gonna do it yourself. You're probably gonna get, a bunch of people to help you like fund shit, like a crowdfunding or something, and you're gonna help them. You're gonna help them. So basically, when a crowdfunding is, I get the deal.
It's like using other people's money.
Yeah. I'm the face of the deal. So when it closes, it's gonna be like I closed and all those good things. However, I'm only getting, so if I close on a $400 unit property, but I syndicate it, I might actually own like 20 units.
Yeah, it's like you're getting a percentage. It's like you're getting equity in the property.
So if you have the hustle and you do things like that, you don't really need the money, because if somebody sees that you're hustling and you're trying and you have a decent plan, it's like, oh, you have a decent ROI and shit. Yeah, people will fund your shit all day.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about like Darren. Like he uses other people's money all day. Like mad people, like all these big realtors, big real estate, moguls, they're not using their own money to fund all these fucking monster deals they're closing every month. Like they're leveraging other people, and they're taking some equity, and they have these huge assets under management. But just because they have, like, Grant Cardone always talks about, like, oh, I have like $2 trillion or whatever $1 billion under management. Just because he has it under management, I don't think that means that he necessarily owns all that.
No,
he
just
manages it.
Yeah, and that's why I said money is the least important part. Right. If you have the drive and you're like, and people see you always trying to do a deal, somebody's gonna hit you up like, dude, what are you talking about?
Right.
Oh, wow, I actually can help you with that. I know some people are fuck it, I'll land on that shit myself. I'll be an equity partner or something. Like there's so many. I don't even know. I feel like real estate is like a whiteboard with nothing on it. You're like, just do whatever you want. So there's that. You can do notes. Notes is, I've
never heard of that.
Yeah, that is some weird shit. I haven't done it either. I've read about it. I tried to get into it, but pretty much what a note is in layman's terms, without getting too super into specifics, I don't even know the super specifics like that. What you're pretty much doing with a note is you're buying a non-performing mortgage, so someone who's not paying.
Okay.
So you buy that shit from somebody. So the banks don't all the time expect to actually get that money back.
Right.
So like they're just like, whatever. Because that's how credit. That's how credit and debt collectors work.
Right.
Like if you owe AT&T money, AT&T is not calling you. Someone bought AT&T's debt and they're trying to collect on AT&T's debt.
Okay.
So basically, what a note is, you might buy a non-performing mortgage and call that person and say, "Hey, listen," and they might be thousands in the hole, right? Now they're not making any money, so not making money. That note or whatever, that mortgage is not being paid, so there's nothing being done there. So you can do is like you can somehow find these notes, buy them, call these people, and say, "Hey, I know that I peeped here that you have $100,000 in debt, and you were supposed to be paying $900 a month. Now listen, I can help you out here. I can cut it down to $50,000 and make your payment $400 a month."
And you take equity in the property.
And then what I do, so then that becomes performing, and then I sell that to somebody.
Huh.
So it's like
you're making a quick profit.
Yeah. Now, so basically, what you're doing, you're gonna have to call those people and say, "Hey, listen, I see you have this debt. Would you like to have it reduced?" Now, you're hoping they're like, "Yes, I would love to get my debt reduced." So you get that performing. So realistically, how I understood it, you buy these things for like pennies, and then you have to put in the work. But if you can get someone to actually like start paying you, and then you're like, "Yeah, for pennies, I got this person to pay me X amount a month per month." Then you're like, "Hey, I got this note," and then they'll be like, "Oh, well, how much is it for?" "Oh, wow, that's the actual value for it." If they actually perform on it, yeah, I'll buy that.
Damn.
So that's another way. But like I said, that is probably
high skill gap.
Yeah,
you wouldn't start out there.
I have not. I think I've met, out of all the investors I've ever talked to, I think I've known one to be like, "Yeah, I actually do that." And even when he was explaining it and he was making money off it, I still was like, "Dude, you can barely fucking explain this shit."
Yeah.
Like,
no one really understands.
And it's not that he can't explain it. It's just that it's so intricate that it's like, if you don't do it yourself, it's kind of hard to try to explain to someone else.
Understood. Interesting.
I'm trying to think. There's so many ways. I mean, so I would say I say all that to probably ask you a better question is, what is your lifestyle? I guess that's your ultimate question.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the fact, right? Is like someone like anyone that wants to get into real estate, you really need to ask yourself, like, how much work are you trying to put in? Because, wholesaling, for example, is way more work, it sounds like. Trying to get all these deals and ship them off to someone else is way more work than, say, buying a property and renting, like just holding a rental property or house hacking like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, I think for me, it would make sense, obviously what I wanted to do is house hack. It makes sense for me because I don't want it to be my main stream of income. I'm not trying to build a real estate empire. I'm trying to not pay my mortgage or pay less on my mortgage and build equity in a house. So that's kind of why I think, the house hack rental route is for me.
That would definitely be your route. I would say if you're looking for residuals and wealth and stuff like that, wholesaling is not going to, it's a lot of cash, but you're not holding anything. So it's just fast deals, huge amounts of cash transacting. But in terms of like, hey, I have this house, and there's nothing. It's just a pile of cash.
Right.
So you can make a lot of money. So if you're trying to use that cash cushion to then invest it into properties or whatever, that's what a lot of people do, and that's what we're doing.
I understand that.
But that's why we're doing that. But now if you're just like, dude, I still want to have my regular job, I just want to, see some decent returns and all that, then I would probably say try to house hack. Depending on, what kind of house hacking you're doing, you can go for like a hard money lender, private money lender, equity. FHA. There's a knocker program. If anybody's listening to this, nobody takes it. I know what the knocker program is, and I didn't even take advantage of it. So like nobody takes advantage of it, and I don't think a lot of people even know this shit exists.
Right.
Now, I thought about doing it. It's dope as fuck, but it's kind of like you got to take classes, and they kind of help. They almost like buy a house for you,
right?
But like in return, you gotta like take certain tests and like, get certified for certain things. But if you do, like they'll like literally, I don't know the whole specifics, but like they will generously help you buy a house.
Yeah.
So
good financing. Type.
Yeah.
I understand.
And it's one of those, and it's kind of like how it's been. The knocker program is like how scholarships are to college. It's like funding to real estate. It's like, if you ever went to like the bursar's office and you're like, dude, there's like 10,000 pages of scholarships that no one has ever fucking applied for. It's kind of like that. Like that's out there, just no one's looking for.
Right.
So if you do go around that route, like I said, there are some things they make you do, but if you complete it, you can
could be cool.
Yeah, you can get a property that way. There's 2 or 3 Ks. Now that's like when you're trying to buy a property. From my understanding, that's when you're trying to buy a bigger property. There's a lot of work. But it's more of a development.
I mean, I've looked into that. That's essentially it's essentially an FHA loan that you can get. I mean, you can at least get into a 3K through FHA, I think, and it essentially covers the renovations on top of the value of the house. So, say you're gonna buy a house and you tell them, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this house. And I'm gonna appreciate it $30,000 by remodeling the kitchen, doing the living room, whatever." They'll fund that appreciation value on top of that, which I think is a pretty good idea if you're really like trying to use multiple things in your arsenal at one time. It's like, okay, I want to get an FHA loan. I want to fix this house up for some appreciation, and I want a house hack. Like that could be a really that's the goal for me.
Yeah.
2 or 3K is like possible if I end up buying a fixer upper, but I feel like that's one of the best ways to approach real estate if you're starting out is like buy a little bit of a fixer upper that you can force some appreciation in, and then house hack your way using that already forced the house that you forced the appreciation in to pay off your 2 or 3K.
Yes, you can do that. Burring is pretty cool, but I understand burring. It's almost like that to make you I guess put it in like a layman's term, is like you're flipping the house without actually flipping the house. So pretty much what a burr is, like I said, in overall, is you're purchasing a property that needs work. You add the value to it. You put a tenant in it. It gets performing. Now, usually it comes from you acquired it by getting some type of loan, like a hard money or whatever. You buy it. You have your holding costs, all that. You appreciate it, and then what you do is after it's all fly and it's all renovated, the tenants in it. Now it's a performing business, right? So now you can go to a bank and say, "Hey, listen, this property's worth this $330,000, and let's say your debt on that property was $20,000, and it's like not really $330,000 all fixed up. You took out a $20,000 loan. It wouldn't. That probably fucked up. You probably need a huge renovation budget, but just for the simplicity, you're gonna put $20,000 in. Now you have a $20,000 loan but you're gonna fix this house up, and then you're gonna refinance it for that $330,000. Pull that $330,000 out, pay this person that $20,000. Now you do restart the loan on that house,
right?
But now you have that $310,000 liquid in your pocket to
do whatever you want.
And a lot of people, what they do with that is they take that and then go put down payments on more properties,
right?
And then just keep doing that. I mean, I definitely appreciate that that way of investing. For me personally, I'm not trying to be more than 50% leveraged, especially because these fucking bubbles. Maybe this new monetary theory is going to stick. I don't know.
We don't gotta get into all that, bro.
I don't know if that shit is gonna actually stick, but I'm not sure. So because I'm just not sure, I don't want to personally leverage more than 50%. Because because they don't do it, but people don't realize that when you take a loan, they can call that shit at any moment if they want it to be fine. So for me, I'm just I just don't want it to be more than 50% personally. But that's just my personal opinion. Then there's other avenues like owner finance and also
I've heard of that.
And also subject to. Subject to is dope, but I actually had a subject to. I'm actually trying to sell that property now because it's actually kind of not that good. What do you call it? We were drunk on our emotional investment, and we just wanted to say that no one in the business paid rent to anybody. So we performed on a deal that we did not have the cash cushion for the amount of repairs that it was going to over time that it needed. So it was just fucking eating us alive in terms of our rentals. But the only reason why we were able to keep it was because we were wholesaling, and those lump sums of cash were just funding the fucking repairs in the house. So it was a stupid move.
Yeah.
But like I said, we were just like, oh, we want to, because me and my wife, we pay rent, but we pay rent to ourselves. So Roger was still renting, so we were like, nah, fuck that. We need to, like, what do we look like? Being real estate investors. And we don't got our, I was like, nah, we look fucking dumb. So I was like, yeah, we got to get you a property. And we found someone who had a mortgage. They didn't want to pay it. We just signed it and took over their existing mortgage. So that's a good way to get into a property. Now, if you can find somebody if you're really hustling out there, you could probably find somebody who has $500,000 of equity in a house, let's say. And let's say they got down to like 80,000 and they couldn't pay that. Now what you can do is subject to that house. They sign their rights over to you. Now you have that property. Now they still own it or whatever, but you can you can get the deed of the property under your name, but the loan itself is still under that person's name. So basically what the goal is, I sign away all of my financial interests, you take this debt, and we work that out that way. So then you just pay that debt for them, and then when you go to close, it's just like they actually close on the property, and then the deed actually goes into your name.
When you finish paying off the debt.
Yeah. Wow. Now for us, we got the paperwork notarized, so like it was a legal court document. Right. So if the seller was like, you guys paid it down, now I'm gonna undo this agreement, it wasn't.
Yeah, you're covering your ass.
So so if you are that hustler, you can find someone who's just like, I got $80,000 left on this $500,000 property. I can't pay it. They're gonna foreclose on it. Just take it over for them. And now for $80,000, you got a $500,000.
Yes. Wow.
So
that's probably really hard to find this deal.
Oh yeah, what I just explained is like, oh my gosh, I would love to see that, but I'm sure they're out there, but there's not that many of those.
Right. Well, I think that's all the time we have. We definitely went over the prepared amount of time, but I'm totally cool with it. I mean, that was the best podcast by far I've ever done. I'll just say that right now on record. That was fucking fire. I know I learned way more than I expected to learn in this whole conversation.
Dude, I learned so much shit too. I'm not even gonna fraud. I was hoping I was gonna learn a lot of shit. I was like, I hope this is. I didn't know how your podcast was gonna be, so I was nervous. I was like, dude, do you have enough fire to just for an hour to just I was like, dude, I don't know, man. I was like, dude, I was shitting bullets, bro. I was like, dude, I was right on my board. I'm like, dude, I accepted this, and I was like, because I was like, as a person that builds shit themselves, I'm like, see, I can't go on his podcast and say some rinky-dink shit because that's gonna fuck up his shit. So I was like, dude, and I was trying to rehearse, and I'm like, dude, I was like, 26 minutes, fuck.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
I was like, dude,
you just gotta go off the dome, because one thing leads to...
Oh, shit.
Jesus. Oh, that was right. One thing leads to another, and, it just is what it is. That totally fucked up my train of thought. But anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure to share this if you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you all next week.
Hey, let's get it.
See ya.